Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining AmCham's webinar on Digital Transformation 2.0, hosted by DataCrunch. I'm Giancarlo Grasso, Director of Strategy and Business Planning at AmCham, and I'm very pleased to kick off today's webinar. Today, we are fortunate to have an experienced data and management scientist, Dr. Eric Kim, with us. Dr. Kim is the founder and CEO of DataCrunch Global, a category-defining leader in augmented intelligence software for daily enterprise decisions. He will discuss how companies have dealt with digital transformation and best practices to stay competitive in an increasingly digital world. DataCrunch Global provides near-time advanced analytics support to help firms retain their core people and eliminate the manual and redundant work needed to create analytics reports. Dr. Kim is also an adjunct professor at the School of International Studies of Hanyang University, where he teaches courses on digital strategy and entrepreneurship. He holds a PhD in management and engineering from KAIST and an MA and BS in economics from the University of Missouri. Dr. Kim continues to be a prominent speaker in tech and strategy talks, regularly appearing in management seminars, chamber dialogues, and forums. So we are very fortunate to have him with us today to present on this relevant topic. As far as webinar structure, we will begin with a presentation, followed by a fireside chat, and end with some Q&A time. If you have questions you would like Dr. Kim to address, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So without further delay, I would like to hand it over to Dr. Kim.
Thank you very much for your introduction, Jian and AmCham. It is my honor to present about a very hot topic right now in the market, about how should we deal with digital transformation in this changing world. So today's topic might be a little bit new to some of you, but probably you, all of the audience, have thought about this problem. The purpose of this webinar is to provide what the current business problem is, the dominant business problem, and also provide a solution to that. So I will share my screen. Okay, again, today's webinar is Digital Transformation 2.0, what to do when work orders are met with employee resistance. So the Digital Transformation 2.0 concept is coined by myself, and this will be the first public talk on how I define Digital Transformation 1.0 and Digital Transformation 2.0. So I hope that this becomes a interesting and insightful webinar. Later on, after my presentation, I will invite Dr. Dongsun Chang to the fireside chat to discuss about how digital transformation is changing the society and organizations. And we would continue on discussing our thoughts of how the transformation itself is also changing the transformation within the organizational structure and power. Okay, so this is a summary of today's presentation. I will first deliver what was Digital Transformation 1.0 as a market-centric strategy, and then deliver how people and organizations changed during COVID, and then what is Digital Transformation 2.0 as a resource-centric strategy, and how is Digital Transformation 2.0 implemented, and what are the business implications of Digital Transformation 2.0. I would welcome any questions as you listen to this webinar. Although it might seem that it's one way, I would like to be interactive with your questions. So I will address the questions probably in the fireside chat session and the Q&A session as well. So please leave questions as you listen to this webinar. So Digital Transformation 1.0 is in a nutshell, is a management incentive initiative focusing on building digital competitive advantages, right? So we talk about strategy, market strategy, operational strategy. How do we utilize digital technologies to either enhance operational efficiency, or how do we enter new markets or innovate our existing markets, which is digital savvy. So this was especially true for a lot of companies that found the needs to enter into new markets with the digital enablers. For example, if you think about Kakao, they are digital native, and they expand to all kinds of businesses that we can imagine. Naver, a internet platform, a search engine, a SNS and portal service, enter into finance. So the characteristics of digital transformation 1.0 is crossing the borders of your current market boundaries and business boundaries with these digital enablers and new digital economy to create digital synergy. The second bullet point of market strategy is offline to online, which means that offline-based businesses heavily went into online, and reversely, also online-based businesses entered offline as well. So omni-channel transformation was a key for market strategy. And customer satisfaction. Supporting convenience in the customer journey was critical. So we introduced chatbots, or we introduced customer-friendly mobile apps, e-commerce platforms, fast delivery, et cetera, loyalty programs to capture customers. On the operational strategy side, data science and AI was used to improve demand forecasting, customer targeting, and operational simulation. In the production industry, or any kind of heavy industry, digital twin was a hot topic to simulate the production and maintenance with large facilities and heavy capital assets. And work efficiency, work tools, and robotic process automation was also a big topic for digital transformation 1.0. But all of these were not requested from the employees. It was more of a managerial agenda, thinking about how to survive, how to create competitive advantages in this changing world. So it was more of a top-down approach, and the premises that's required to execute these strategies were the firm foundation of work orders that we never questioned. So the basis of these kind of giant transformations require the firm to have the work orders, to the core employees follow the work orders to really transform the business. But what we have never expected was COVID. So this is the death counts until today. About 6.5 million people, unfortunately and very tragically, were sacrificed during COVID. And this has built a very, very different environment for the firm to survive, not to grow, but just to survive in the past couple of years. And we all have witnessed which kind of transformation we had to go through. So we had to go back to basics and question things that we have never questioned before. Like, why do we operate like this? Why have we been doing business like this at all, right? So it was more about a reinvention question. Why do we operate like this until now? How can we change the perspectives we have around our markets and operations? And customers, like, where are they? If you're offline business, they're not on the streets, then how can we get them to our offline stores? Maybe a very, very challenging question because, they're in quarantine, like they can't come out to the streets. Then how do we transform it to an e-commerce business? How do we approach them? Like when they came to our stores, we understood which kind of people come, what they're interested in, and what they really buy from the interactions with our sales representatives. If you don't have that tacit information, then how do we understand customer behavior, right? And firm values. How can we enhance long-term firm value? What is our core capabilities? What should we do in the future? These are all questions that we asked anew. Even product production, like companies thought about nearshoring the core, supply chain or the factories because they were concerned about the global supply chain risk. And that totally changed how we work, how we do business as a firm. And the society is changing dramatically. So because of COVID, we are experiencing an economic recession. AI and work automation is accelerating, but at the same time, unemployment rates will accelerate. Because of social distancing, telecommunicating or tech consumption became popular, which means that first, we have more leisure time because there's a lot of people that don't have to work for longer hours because of AI and work automation, or either you're out of the workforce temporarily. And because of the social distancing, we don't have to commute to work. So it reduces our long commuting time. And we changed our way of living. So we don't go to grocery stores. We purchase grocery online. So we would probably spend like 1 or 2 hours going grocery shopping over the weekends. Now that's all delivered. Not only grocery shopping, most of the consumptions that we do are transforming to e-commerce based. So we save more time, right? So we have more leisure time, and that means that we're going to have more increase in entertainment consumptions. That's why Netflix and other entertainment business was so big during COVID, because we simply had more time. We were locked down, and we were consuming entertainment, services during that spare time. And with the increased online consumption, we're heading towards a media commerce society. So Korea is really, really advanced in this domain, right? So we have introduced a concept called media commerce already like 6 years ago or 7 years ago. But we're heading towards more creativity. Now, companies sell products based on creativity, not based on traditional advertisements or approaches. They communicate with customers with creative productions. And since customers are invisible, but the only way to understand customer behavior and the only way to approach customers is by analyzing the customer behavior with data. So combine these two, the core value of firms are creative business development, since we are already living in a media commerce society. And also the core value of firms are AI-based profit maximization DNAs, because data is really important. So probably we had enough discussion on the importance of creativity and data, and also we had more than enough discussions about like why we have to go back to basics and how we're going to revisit our core assumptions, right? So before COVID, what was important is solid business planning. So we were target and goal-based. So setting the goals at the beginning of the year and executing that goals were very, very important. After COVID, of course, we have goals. Of course, we have targets, but dynamic capabilities are more important because markets are changing. The business environment is changing, right? We had COVID last year. It's still continuing this year. But now the market situation is totally different. Last year, we struggled, but still the capital market was good. This year, we're struggling and the capital market is starting to crash. Next year, we're expecting a recession. So it's not only COVID, it's the macro economy that's also changing very, very fast over a couple of years. So after COVID or through COVID, rapid business response is really important. That's where dynamic capabilities, which we coin as a capability to change, is very important. Markets are unstable, and quick organizational and business adjustments are important. So we have to slice and dice what's going on in our business as of today, or maybe as of tomorrow even. We have to forecast what's going to happen tomorrow. So this is what we already know and what we're working on. But because of the COVID experience, the mindsets of our workforce are changing. So this graph shows the quit rates in the US. So you see that there's a sharp increase since after 2020, a very dramatic increase. We call this a great resignation. So people are quitting jobs, but they're not quitting all kinds of jobs. They're quitting jobs which don't meet their personal values. They're quitting jobs which don't pay well, or they believe that it doesn't really fit with their personal values. Why? Because the COVID experience, the quarantine experience, the experience losing your loved ones or looking at the news really changed how we think and behave, especially the quarantine experience. Probably awakens us of the importance of family and friendship and etc. So personal values, life values are sometimes set prior to corporate values. So I think this is the core phenomena that companies are going through as a challenge. So this is an interesting article by Bloomberg. It talks about like how people are finding supplementary income and why are they doing so. So it's not only about the traumatic experience during COVID, it's really about also the inflation and the current wages that are more sticky than inflation. So to survive, all employees said that about 37% of them have looked for new, higher paying jobs. All employees say, for 38% of all employees say that they have looked for a second job. 18% of all employees say that they have moved to a cheaper city. 57% want overtime or extra shifts. But these respondents are controversial sometimes. So the only reason why they want overshift is to make more money. But on the other hand, people also demand for work and life balance. And more, because of the Great Resignation, the work commitments issue is becoming a major issue to the company. So it's really hard to force, managerial agendas within the company. For example, Tesla and Apple try to have all of their employees on-site in office, starting like July and August this year. There was a major pushback of Apple and Tesla employees. And in the past, that is not something that we would have expected, because coming to deciding where to work was totally in the hands of the company, not on the employee side. But that basic question of why do we have to go to office has been questioned during COVID, and people realized and tested and proved that, okay, I can work at home, then why do I have to commute to work, right? So these kind of fundamental changes are challenging the company, and companies are struggling for losing their core human capital at the same time. So digital transformation 2.0, in my definition, is a management employee co-initiative focusing on building digital competitive advantage by increasing productivity. When we're on a shifting market, when we're on a shifting economy, market strategy and operational strategy, of course, is very important. But productivity and retaining the core human capital, I think, is equally or a more important agenda to companies. This is true as a management theory standpoint as well. When the company has uncertainty or the market has uncertainty, you do not invest into expensive market entry or projects that you're not really sure about the results. So I think now it's time to focus on productivity, and that will build digital competitive advantage and also help retain the core employees. So the reason why this is a management employee co-agenda is because as manager agenda, the management needs numbers really, really fast. Like what's happening today? What's happening tomorrow? What happened yesterday? But in order to generate that number, employees have to go through extensive Excel work. And most of the time, it's never going to be generated in one day. It's never going to be generated in 2 days. It's going to take weeks to merge Excel files and generate this number for reporting. So employees also request, if you want fast numbers, then we have to think about a way to reduce the intensive Excel work that we're doing. And managerial agenda is also often found in, we need fast progress and response of what we're doing, right? Then they will need work automation tools, or even like any kind of collaborative tools to be more productive and efficient. So again, the core about digital transformation 2.0 is, it is more important in securing managerial visibility and the firm's core human capital at the same time. These are not something that we can trade off. We have to retain both of these, important initiatives together. But why do digital transformation usually fail? Because the main reason why digital transformation fail is because people still do not know what digital transformation is, even after the projects are completed. So what do we mean by digital transformation? What was the goal? Like, how is the company going to change? Because that vision is not accurately articulated, about 70% of previous digital transformation projects were unsatisfactory. And all drivers to fail digital transformation are entitled to the CEO in a very strict way, because it requires special attention by the CEO. It's not something that the CEO wants to pursue, but just can be hands off. So in terms of the strategy, if the CEO does not have a long-term strategy, it's really likely that the digital transformation will not work. And for leadership, if the CEO does not engage at working level to drive the transformation, then it's likely that it's not going to go through. Organizational-wise, people do not want to drive. If people do not want to drive the initiatives, then it's going to be a problem. And capabilities, if the organization does not have the capability to drive the transformation, then it's going to be a problem. So most of the reasons why the digital transformation projects fail is because it's a CEO agenda, managerial agenda, but the management does not put keen hands on the ground level work. But digital transformation 2.0 is different. It is a win-win project for both the employees and the management because we're focusing on work. Now let's get the numbers fast. Now let's push work faster. In return, let's introduce work automation to reduce Excel work and introduce work tools, collaborative work tools to improve productivity. So this is a common, myth and business problem in the industry. So these are just examples. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because we have a conventional myth that business problems arise by process problems. But in fact, it is mostly a data disintegration issue. Like we are usually out of stock. It's because your sales department and the supply chain management department are not working closely together by sharing data on the stock level and the sales level. We're short of cash. It's because of the department that does the purchase orders are not really communicating or looking at the numbers of the inventory and the sales. And sales are dropping because your marketing data and customer data and sales data are not fully integrated. You have no clue why these sales are dropping. So this is not a process issue. This is a data disintegration issue. And what I think is that everyone in the company is pretty smart. The reason why the company itself cannot align processes is because they do not have a helicopter view. So what happens is consultants who have a helicopter view will come into the company and start to align process. But if you have data visibility across your key partnering departments, teams, then you gain a helicopter view of your process operation, and you are smart people, so you will be able to adjust and innovate the process by yourself. 80% of corporate work are mostly Excel. And what do? For the remainder of the time, you try to figure out why this number is generated, and then you try to make a discussion. That time devoted for discussion and insight generation is too short, in my opinion. And because we have too much of Excel work, what happens is decisions are late. Like, let's say that you're closing accounts, it will take a month period of all of your team devoting to Excel work. And high turnover rates, people question, what am I doing with all these Excel work? They graduate from a college, study hard, and then come to the firm, and all they do is doing Excel work, repetitive Excel work. And firm capabilities are retained to employees. Employees know how to do the Excel work. Once they leave, then someone has to, be updated, or if the successor is not updated, then it becomes a disaster. And of course, we can expect inaccurate numbers because it's human generated. So As a market solution, this is just one example of digital transformation 2.0. The approach is totally eliminating these Excel work, repetitive Excel work, by taking the raw data to the reports in near time by introducing data science as a service solutions. For example, you can extract data from different solutions: marketing, sales, CRM, SCM, finance, production, etc., etc., etc. And then the system will just take that raw data from the databases of each of these solutions automatically, and the report is generated on your screen. So it totally eliminates the redundant Excel work, which is causing turnovers, late decisions, etc. So it's convenient, fast, accurate, and capabilities are digitalized. Now, how we analyze things are not retained to employees. It's in a system, so it's retained. So this is just an example of what we mean by data as a service. Workers do not do anything, but the numbers are all generated in the system. You simply download it if you want to work on it. Additionally, of course, like graphs and charts are integrated into these kind of solutions. So I think it's really important to help the employees to reduce the redundant work and focus on the more important part. So by introducing these kind of work automation solutions, now the data uploading work or doing additional work is only 20% of your time. 80% of the time, think about why this number is generated. Discuss with the team. Discuss with your partner teams. Make decisions more accurately and innovatively, and have more room to innovate the company, or just go home. Go home early so that you can spend time with your families. And this is the only way to retain workers that are tired about repetitive Excel work. And fortunately, we currently have the technology to do so. But as a multinational company, this is not a easy task or product to pursue, because most of the time, you'll have to have approval from the HQ of starting these products. You have to communicate why you have to do it, how you will do it, how much money you need, how much technology. How much digital infrastructure the HQ has to follow, etc., etc., etc. And I think this stance has changed a lot compared to before COVID and after COVID. So the HQ usually vetoed any kind of projects, but after COVID, the HQ is not even sure about the global market, and they're really not sure about local markets. So they more and more delegate the autonomies to the local initiatives. But the reason why these kind of products are not going through is because you persuade the HQ as a market-centric language. So you talk about these business problems and things like that. But the department that is going to allow you to do this kind of product is the IT team in your HQ, and they will not understand what you're talking about, or you will not understand what they're talking about, and the discussion just goes south. So you have to also do a digital-centric persuasion with IT technology, IT expertise coming together in the discussion with the HQ to lift these kind of projects. And as a leadership, what's really important to win the digital transformation is focusing on these 6 parts, in my opinion. First, the management or the CEO has to articulate what we mean by digital transformation. What is our goal? And how will we do it? And the CEO and management really has to devote their time and energy to push hard to drive the transformative change by coming down to working level. So they have to work on side by side with the working level to check whether these initiatives are going through and whether they have the agreement with the employees. Reward CEOs and management needs to redesign incentives to make people moving forward. And reposition. There are always teams or individuals that are against this idea. Then a really, really good strategy is to reposition that individual to a different task, not, having them on the digital transformation team as a strategy to continue. And forgiveness. After this kind of work automation or data science and service solutions are implemented, then of course you'll discover what we have been doing wrong. If the company starts to punish on that, then no one's really going to willing to take that initiative again. So we have to forgive. And of course, patience. This transformation does not occur over 1 or 2 months. It might take up to a year. The CEO and management and also everyone in the company has to have patience. Okay, so I would like to wrap up here for my presentation and invite Dr. Dongsun Chang, a very, very famous neuroscientist, to a fireside chat to discuss about digital transformation and how it's changing the organizational structure. So I would like to invite Dr. Dongsun Chang. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Eric. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Dongsun Chang is a famous YouTuber, public figure, TED speaker, and he was also the former head of future technology strategy at Hyundai Motors. So he has both industry experience, but at the same time, he's a scientist. So I think it's going to be a very interesting talk that we deliver here today.
Okay, so my background is in neuroscience and behavior. I got my PhD at the Max Planck Institute for Biological Cybernetics in Germany, and then worked for Hyundai Motor Group for a bit less than 4 years in Korea. So, so we are going to talk about digital transformation, right?
Yeah, so I presented my view on digital transformation.
Yeah, forgive me if I'm being too direct and critical, but although we are going to talk about DT, I have to start by bashing a little bit the concept, because I think digital transformation, this concept has been used it's too vague sometimes. I mean, you put a lot of old concepts like automation, work automation, and different things into that. So I think the concept is a bit blurry. And also, digital transformation for different branches and different areas will be implemented differently, right? So we cannot just use this concept, digital transformation, as a solution for everything. That would be a little bit empty. I mean, I think more feasible it is if you break it down into really pragmatic areas, and depending on which leaders want to use it in which areas. But I mean, bringing everything into that concept and I mean in a big concept, it's a little bit, I think, blurry. So I have to start by being a little bit critical about digital transformation. But since my topic was more about preparing how will society change and what kind of technology do companies have to provide to prepare for the next 5 or 10 years. So it's more a big picture thing. What I was focusing on in my research and also when I was working for Hyundai. So so I mean, wanted to make clear my position that I'm giving a lot of talks about digital transformation, but we have to be clear about the concept because sometimes people use it to describe different things.
Yeah, I totally agree on you. And I see that you're coming from Max Planck Institute, delivering the macro concept of digital transformation. I totally agree on you that sometimes digital transformation is used for a magic word, covering so many concepts, so many cases. And that's why I'm trying to somehow define my definition.
So let me probably come up with some examples. So the head of data science at Uber, Franziska, is a friend of mine. So we discussed often this topic of DT or DX. So the approach there at Uber, or for example, also at Tesla, is you cannot just talk about digital transformation at the leadership level or C level, and it will be kind of an empty concept for the employees or workers. So at Uber, they train every employee to become data scientists. So it's 14,000 people belong to the data science team. So they developed a system internally that everyone really gets to know data science and how to deal with data. So you need kind of a system where everyone is understanding the value of dealing with data in a new way. Because I think I saw in the Q&A, Sang-Ho Kim, how do you answer resistance to a new solution which needs training, standardization costs, etc.? I totally agree. I mean, for the employees, if they had one way of working, for example, writing their reports in PowerPoint format and always dealing with numbers on Excel, then it's very difficult to change that unless you really show value in when you do it in a new way. It's much easier for them and reduces work. Otherwise, it's just a concept, but the employees will be confused. So you need an internal system how to lead people to use tools. So for me, DT has two components. One is what kind of tools will you use, and there's the first part. So what's the technology? What kind of new technology do you want to implement as a tool? And the second is how do you deal on the human level? How do you deal with human interaction level of persuasion and how do you move people? So it's a people side and technology side, and you have to approach both of them separately. Although at the end they both have to go together to really go to the direction of achieving what you want to achieve with digital transformation.
Yeah, I totally agree on you. I really like how you emphasize that it's both a digital tool issue and also a human issue. It's already very, very complicated just by defining that you have to be really literate in the tools and also persuade people to do it. And I think that it's becoming more and more difficult because not on the tool side, actually the tool side is becoming more easier because there's a lot of technological developments. There's solutions are advancing. So there's so many tools that we can choose from. But how do we deal with people that do not want to move forward? And actually people have changed a lot in the organization.
I mean, it's easy and difficult at the same time, but the only way to pursue people is by showing real value so that everyone thinks it is really useful and I reduce my working time and this is great. If people feel like that, they will automatically use it. But if you just come up with a concept and we need to achieve digital transformation, everything has to digitize, data is important, this will be kind of empty for people, right? So, I mean, it's always good to talk about examples. Let's say like this. In a company like Hyundai, I mean, it's not very digitally advanced culture. I mean, when you go there, most of them are engineers, and your image of automotive branch is anyway a little bit old, right? So one of the direct problems, for example, when you have meetings with new companies, let's say you meet Kakao or you meet Uber, you meet Facebook, Meta, right? Then a lot of times different teams approach other companies from various sides, right? Then in a company, in a traditional company, the knowledge or the meeting reports and everything stays with a person or stays with a certain division. That means it is not saved in a database. It's not open. It's not transparent. That means when you deal, for example, with other companies, they always ask, hey, we already had a meeting with your company, but this is already the fifth meeting. Don't you people talk with each other? And this is a silo problem. And I think many companies have that. But on the other hand, if you go to IT companies, could be Tesla, could be Kakao, could be Naver, they have a internal system. When they had a meeting with Dr. Chang or Microsoft, then there's a record of when they met, which team, what they discussed. So all that is visible to everyone in the company. That means if you have a second meeting, third meeting, regardless from which team you're coming, or you're a new intern or you're a CEO, you know already what conversation has been done before. So you build upon that. So this is a system, and I mean, this is a not exact. I mean, this is not a typical example of digital transformation, but you can talk about that with this example, right? So when you have data and people can see it and read it and build the next interaction based on it, it's a huge value for the company. But now the question is, how do you move people to do it? Then you need actually three things. One is you have to build a transparent culture that everyone shares information. Then you have to make it as a rule that people leave that meeting report, I mean, the meeting outcomes as a it has to pile up as data, right? So you have to provide the right system that it doesn't take too much effort every time to input what happened at a meeting. So you need kind of a communication system in this case where you can pile up data of each meeting and meet each meeting outcome in an easy way. And then the third part is you have a visible part and an invisible part. The visible part is that employees just have to enter it very easily. Only then they use it. And the invisible part is how do you extract data from that and label it and use it later? This is the role of data scientists and system architects to do it under the hood, so that the employees don't need to know about how the data is labeled and processed and how they can get it out next time. But it needs a good architect and a good system architect to provide the system under the hood so the employees can just use it. And hey, I have data and information from what is going on in the company all the time. But providing that needs the system to let people do it, but also support it data-wise under the hood. So in this example, as you see, I mean, once you use it, then everyone will profit from it. And that means, wow, okay, because it has value and I profit from that, people will enter it. So these two has to go together. You cannot like ask people to use something they don't know why they use it and don't know how to use it. So these two have to go together.
I think your example is very interesting because it also gives a question of, okay, if we share corporate knowledge as an asset, shared assets among people, then we can think about situations where why people did not want to share information. Sometimes they have political issues. If they share the information.
So at the core, actually, we talk about digital transformation, but before you go to digital transformation, you have to change your company culture or you have to change the system itself. Otherwise, just introducing a new tool will not work. I mean, in order to make the data pile up, you need transparency. You need to go beyond old structures. So in a big picture, I think companies will change more and more, and not only companies, but also the way we deal with other people, interaction. Now it's a kind of a pyramid structure, right? You have the CEO at the top, leadership, and the CEO has most information coming up there, and all can see all the information. So we know we are used to that kind of pyramid structure, but this will eventually change to a network structure that actually you have to build nodes where lines of informations are coming in. And so the pyramid structure will go into a network structure. And in the network structure, it's about who has the best and most valuable information and who is connected well. So in this kind of structure, you need other ways of reporting and other ways of operating systems. But that's, I think, the dilemma of companies wanting to achieve digital transformation at a management level, because you cannot change the old structure just from one day to the other. So you have to start by little areas, little by little, and change the communication and interaction structure and how information and data is shared and how over time that data is piled up. I mean, at the Max Planck Institute, and I mean, you might ask, why do they have like 40 Nobel Prize laureates and how do they research differently? I mean, there are many answers, but one which impressed me is we had 3 database specialists from IBM just recording and piling up data, any scientist or any intern or any employee generates from there. That means if I go into that research institute and I want to run an experiment, then I already can see what old experiment and data are all there. So I don't need to waste time doing the same experiment second time, third time, fourth time. And even when I stay there just for 6 months and I leave, everything I've done and all the insights or the research I've conducted is already there, that someone can build on that next time. And these days, since I mean, the turnover rates increased, right? So that means employees come in, go out, especially data scientists, because their price, their value has risen very much. That means if a CTO comes and he leaves, then the next CTO needs to know what the former one has built on and all the structure and system, but often that is not there. You don't have recourse, you don't know how they did. So it's really a pain, and you have to start a lot of things new again and again, right? So it is very important to have a structurized, systematic way of leaving the knowledge and all the work performance there, even when people change, that the system is still there to use. And I think that is one of the core necessities of a company. I mean, when you want to achieve DT.
Okay, I think that well connects with my conceptualization of digital transformation 2.0, retaining the core capabilities as digital assets of human from human capitals, and also sharing data visibility among departments, teams that you have to collaborate. So that, I think, pre-requires your discussion of a network structure firm or some type of a collaborative structure of a firm as a knowledge-based operation from a reporting-based operation. So I think that insights really pulled together with my conceptualization of digital transformation 2.0. Okay. Shall we take the question from Sang-ho Kim here? I think you briefly mentioned, but I will rephrase the question. We have tried to develop a new solution to replace Excel work. The problem was that the new solution required standardized data to be entered, which is so impossible in many areas. So besides, it requires too much time and effort to do the standardization. Excel still has much value in that it has a high degree of freedom where a person can personalize or customize any data for their purpose. So this is a common problem that I hear. The reason why probably Mr. Sang-Woo Kim had this problem was because the system was too rigid. It only accepts a certain type of a data format. But that approach has been really advanced. Now you don't have to upload a data in a certain format. For example, the concept of data science of a service will just take the raw data. So you don't have to manipulate anything. The raw data always comes in a format. The system just takes that format. So there's no additional Excel work to import to the system. It's all eliminated. So I think you are using a little bit outdated system or inconvenient system. And we have seen problems with the system that you described, that people have to do Excel work to match the formats of the solution. That actually causes more trouble because you have to do the same work to generate that Excel format. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sang-Woo Kim. Okay. If you have any other questions, please ask through the Q&A. If not, I would like to ask Dr. Dongsun Chang of how do you see the future of digital transformation or the digital society coming? So we're probably just at the tip of the iceberg of the change. What do you see as a future society with these digital technologies?
I think so here's one thing. I think the world is changing too fast. That means there are so many new concepts and tools and digital tools out there. That means a lot of people are confused. What should I really know and what should I really implement? Because by the time you had costs and efforts to implement something, it might already change to the next step and next tools and next systems come out, right? So it's a kind of a dilemma. I mean, you don't know which ones to really adapt and how it will change. So I think these days we face a lot of uncertainty in the future. So my answer to that is actually kind of fundamental, because even if you talk about digital technology, at the end, it is about the people who use that, right? So if people are not ready to use new technology, the best technology is useless. Right. So although it might sound not as a direct approach to the answer, if you want to be fast and implementing digital technologies fast, you need a new spirit and a new mindset of people really trying it out. So that means you cannot push data, you cannot push digital transformation top down. It kind of has to penetrate and it come bottom up. So you provide new tools and people love to use it and try it out. And hey, this is cool. Then it will spread automatically. And so what companies need foremost is actually an adaptability. So being able to adapt and try out new technologies and choose in the company themselves which new tools they use and which they don't use. So one way is, I mean, as you also briefly mentioned as an example, that everyone uses SAP or a certain software, right? I mean, you need actually a ground way of doing it. But besides that, I mean, if you look, many people use KakaoTalk or they use Messenger, they use different tools, right? Trello, Slack, right? And often, or Notion, right? So I mean, there are 2 points. Big companies have the problem with security because you don't want certain kind of information or data go out of the company. But on the other hand, if you want to have really fast and efficient teams working, then the teams should choose which kind of programs or new apps they use in everyday lives. and being able to accept it and being able to implement that change is the most important. So actually, at the end, it goes to how you change the culture to be more adaptive. So this is, I think, one of the big challenges for DT.
Thank you very much. I think your point is very insightful, mentioning that there's so many technologies. So it's really important to choose the right technology for your company. And that should be a mutual decision with the management and also the employees as an organization. And what was really insightful was that, okay, there are technologies that are not yet matured or ready for the society or for the organization. So you have to choose just the right level of technology for the transformation. If you want to take a more advanced technology, then you will have to be ready for the organizational spirit and organizational culture and change. Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Chang. It was a pleasure having you at the AmCham webinar. I would like to close by advertising two things. If you have any questions about the webinar today, you can email me at eric.kim@datacrunchglobal.com or find me on LinkedIn, Eric S. Kim. Okay, you can also find Dr. Dongsun Chang on LinkedIn, so please follow him. He's also very popular on YouTube and Instagram as well. You'll easily find him. And there's an upcoming session from AmCham doing business in US. It will be on November 18th at COEX. And I believe that we will have a lot of insights for that session. So if you're interested, please register and come to the event on November 18th. Thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you enjoyed this session.